one of the weirdest and most musically abstract compositions from the entirety of the Pokemon game soundtracks. And I apologize in advance if this flashes you back to 7-year-old you putting your Game Boy through a wall, because we're talking about this. Okay, now, here's the thing. If you have no idea where you are, and you can't make heads or tails of this musically, well, that's because that's kind of the point, isn't it? We're talking about Silph Co, right? So Silph Co is a level in Pokemon Red, Blue, and I think Yellow also. Well, actually, I think it's in a number of games, but we're talking about, this is from Red and Blue. Here's the trick. Silph Co is a building that's been taken over by Team Rocket. Let's ignore the fact that you're an 11-year-old or whatever you are, and you've been tasked with taking on this organized crime ring that's taken over an entire corporation in Saffron Town, I think. What we're hearing here is a harmonic disaster. And even if you just went off the explanation of what Silph Co is and what you're tasked with doing as a player, that in and of itself would make sense. But there's one thing that I think adds to this in such a way that you're like, well, now the whole thing really makes sense. And I'm beginning to see why the music was written this way, even though I'm having difficulty making heads or tails of it. And that is, you travel through this building not via staircases, but by warp panels. Teleporting from floor to floor, but never quite being able to figure out until you really figure out the puzzle. You don't know what floor you're on. You don't know where you are. Well, doesn't this sound an awful lot like that? So far, it's like, oh, okay, we're in E minor, but then all of a sudden, we're somewhere else. Okay, E minor again, I guess. Now where are we? Now the whole thing changes entirely, and we get... Now we have this inner melody, and I don't know where we are. Okay. we gotta actually look at this, because this is wild. Hey, real quickly, I have a couple of big announcements. Number one, I have just launched memberships on this channel. So not everybody's interested in learning to play the piano, so my courses might not be the best fit for you. If they are, it's 75% off for the holidays. There's a link in the description. If you want to learn to play the piano, that's the best way to do it. But if you're not, and you'd like to support the channel and get a few fun perks while you do it, that's a brand new thing that we're launching now. So if you want early access to videos, there's a couple different tiers depending on what you're interested in and how you want to support the channel, but check that out. I thought it'd be a fun thing to do, and I really appreciate the support. So also, the holiday sale has a gifting option as well. So if there's somebody in your life that's wanting to start learning to play the piano, it's a great option to get them started. It's got everything you need, even if you've never played the piano before, it's a perfect place to start. And it's the best way to support the channel. I don't take sponsorships, and that's because I just want to make cool stuff for you guys. It's actually useful. And so that's what I've done, is I've built literally the biggest project I've ever done. So if you want more information about that, there's a QR code somewhere here, and also there's a link in the description. So thank you so much for checking that out. Let's keep going. I love that the first thing we start with is an E whole tone scale, right? And then we go right into what we kind of think is just going to be like in E minor. And I think you can accurately call this E minor. We wrote it in E minor, and I think that makes sense. But everything that's going on is just really weird. That's the best way to describe it. We have... So this is a melody we hear come back again and again. And if we're looking at this as like E minor... Okay, that works. But then we get to the... What is this? Is it? Part of me wonders if it's supposed to be kind of like a. That's so weird. But it gets way weirder than that, because as we go, we're introducing all these layers. Now, this is one of the brilliant things about the chiptune writing from the original Game Boy and some early game consoles, is that there's only so many voices. And you can see we've written this out in 3 voices, and in some places we have voices stacked on top of each other. But really, I think the majority of this is played with 3 voices, and that leaves some amount of harmonic ambiguity. It leaves us wondering, like, okay, how would we fill in the blanks, and how would we make sense of this harmonically? And then in measure 6, we start getting this figure on the bottom that just goes. It's like it goes from E, just up chromatically, E, F, whatever that is, right? F sharp whole tone, back to F. Wow, man. It feels like we have... E minor is the only chord I'm really sure of. Everything else is so up in the air. We look at this stuff and we're trying to break it down and say, what are the harmonic ideas here, right? And the reason that we do that is because it's really cool to illustrate sort of the music theory concepts that go into writing things like this. But there's an important point, I think, in all of this, and that is it doesn't always matter what the harmonic idea is. Sometimes it's just the relationship of the notes to each other, and it's not necessarily thought about in a harmonic context, like vertically. What I mean by vertically is like when I look at lines and I go, well, this is basically implying an E minor chord, right? That would be looking at something that is written linearly and saying, what does this say vertically? And that doesn't always give us the full picture, nor is there always a good answer to define something vertically. I mean, if we go back to some of the early music of the Renaissance and the Ars Nova, we actually find some really good examples of this. So just those chords in the beginning, this piece by Gesualdo, it's kind of unlike things that we're used to hearing today in our world of melody on top, harmony on the bottom. And that's because Gesualdo wrote in a linear fashion. It doesn't mean he was not aware of what was going on harmonically and what the implications were. It just means that our modern sense of how we typically write music is not how they were necessarily approaching music during the medieval period. So I think we can really look at the Silph Co theme as having a very similar characteristic where it's not necessarily about defining things vertically, right? Whereas, okay, here's what's really crazy, and this is why this to me is such an odd inclusion. I think it's weirder than Lavender Town, which we recently covered. That's a very weird one, but this to me is even more bizarre because it's completely atonal in comparison to Lavender Town. I don't think it's entirely atonal, but I think it's way weirder, and probably for many of you who played these games on the Game Boy, you might get way more anxiety from this than you do from Lavender Town, but I want to compare it to the other pieces of this soundtrack. I mean, let's just listen to, for example, Route 1. Check this out. I mean, you want to talk about... It's the most consonant, harmonically defined thing we can possibly come up with, and that's all over the place. I mean, take Pallet Town, for example. Now, this one is less melody harmony. There's a lot of voices going on, and I think, that speaks to some of maybe the Baroque influence, where we have multiple voices that end up creating the harmony, but they're written in a way that is somewhat linear, where each voice can exist by itself and be a beautiful melody. So I think what we're doing in Silph Co is a version of that. We've just kind of given up this nice, pretty, harmonically defined environment that we're writing in. And even if we take some of the more intense things, like for example, we get that little bit of chromaticism, whatever it is, right? We get that little bit of, by the way, that is literally just straight up, is it not? I mean, tell me that's not exactly where that inspiration came from. But when we listen to the battle theme, we get that chromaticism at the beginning, but watch what happens. The second we're out of it, now... Oh, I messed it up. I might have to do something on this at one time because... we get that is such harmonic consonance right there. Even though it's intense, yes. And then we get the version of the theme in there, right? And so even when we go to the trainer battle, which is one of the darker, intense battles that we see, we still get a whole lot of consonants in here. Check this one out. This one. That's almost got like a blues element to it, right? Everything's completely defined. Even if we get chromaticism in there, we still can follow the harmony very clearly. But the second we start listening to Silph Co, we're like, what is even happening? It's like we can sort of get the vibe that we're based in E minor, but that's after that, it kind of goes all over the place, and it's very difficult to define because there are so many notes that might indicate one thing or another. And I just think like you can look at all the notes and we have it all broken down. We can look at literally what's written. But to me, when I go, okay, but what is this saying, right? If we stack, so at C, at measure 15, that's one voice, and then we have, that's another voice, and then we have, those are the three voices. So it's like, what are we saying? And so you kind of almost never know where we really are harmonically, but isn't that the idea? You know what I mean? Because like it's so difficult until you know the puzzle and you have figured out where everything is in the building and you know where to go to get the key card and stuff like that. Like you don't know where you are. You go through a warp panel and you're like, great. What floor am I on now? I have no indication of where that is. You kind of just need to get to know the layout of the entire building before you can make your way through. And who do you meet? Is it Giovanni, I think you meet? So like, I just think it's such a brilliant way to incorporate the chaos of what's happening. You know, look at this. Oh man, it's like, what? It just keeps building and building and building. What are we doing? All I could tell you is E minor. It's the only thing I'd be confident enough to say. But the one thing you do get is that no matter where you are in this piece, you're confused. And you have this deep sense of like unsettling what is going on. And it's intense. And it makes you feel uneasy, and it builds anxiety and all this stuff. And when you're 8, it's a perfect recipe for trauma. But I'm always going through the old Pokemon themes and stuff like that. You know, in fact, actually, I wanted to point out one of the things that we put in the Better Piano system. We're gonna do walkthroughs of entire tunes. I've done a couple already, there's more coming, but one of them is a walkthrough of Beethoven's Für Elise from start to finish. If you ever wanted to learn that, not only is the music in there, but also I'm gonna take you through the entire thing and show you how to play it. But there's another one that I'm really excited about, and it comes from Pokemon Diamond, which I've covered before, which has incredible music, as all the games do, but I wrote a piano version of Jubilife City. And then I made, it's over an hour long, I made a breakdown of how to play it note for note. So that's another one of those walkthroughs that's in the course. So if stuff like that is exciting to you, the idea of learning to play some of that stuff, then it's all in there. And once again, it is 75% off for the holidays. So use that link in the description down below. Take advantage of that while you have the opportunity. And let me know what other insane themes exist from some of these old Pokemon games, because they are an absolute riot to go through. Because not only were these composers such geniuses for taking advantage of that incredibly limited hardware of the time, they were also just genius composers in general. So you're combining incredible musical language with fascinating technological limitations, and the result is this. So let me know in the comments below what else you want to see me cover. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.